Thanks a lot for your time today. How's everything going? I know you're in camp for your next fight.
Yes, everything's going good so far. I started my camp about 2 weeks ago, I believe. Um, I'm excited. It's another rematch, you would say. I did fight this girl when I was an amateur back in 2016. So 2018 was supposed to be the tiebreaker. But we have another one coming up. It's on March 19th, and well, I'm preparing for that now.
That sounds really good. Obviously you're a world ranked fighter, and I know you've been in with a lot of different people in fights and in sparring as well. There's someone I'm a massive fan of. What can you tell me about Cecilia Breakz? What was it like sparring her?
Well, it was exciting. I mean, I always wanted to get that chance, an opportunity to spar her. I never got that lucky until when I was about to have my debut. Um, one of a friend in boxing kind of gave us that contact, and I was able to come out to Big Bear and spar with her. She kind of got upset because she didn't know about me sooner, and I kind of have that style that could have helped her with her rematch against Jessica McCaskill. But sadly, I didn't get to spar her more. But she did say that when her next fight was coming up, she wanted me to be a part of it again. But yes, she's a strong girl. She's taller. I'm used to fighting taller people, so it was a huge experience, and mostly learning wise. I was a little rusty, as you could say,
Yeah, I
because
know what you mean.
I had gone 3 days without eating that week since I was almost at weigh-ins. But yeah, it was a really good experience, and they treated me very well. So
Well, that's good. I've been to Big Bear before, so she was up there with Abel Sanchez.
yes, I
Something,
think to her other trainer, I believe.
yeah, she's with Jonathan Banks now.
But Abel is a really good coach. He actually helped me do some mitts too. So
That's good. You mentioned something though when you say you wasn't really eating because you had fights coming up. So is that something a lot of boxers have a lot of problem with, starving yourself for fights to make weight?
well, I mean, I guess just me,
Oh,
but no, hardest part is just cutting weight. When I accepted my pro debut fight, accepted it at 154. Well, it had been years since I had made that weight. When I started fighting with the Mexico team, I went up a weight class, which was 165 pounds, so 75 kilos. My body kind of got used at a heavier weight. So when I tried to cut it back down to what I used to fight when I was like 16, 17, it got a little harder and complicated. So I had to sacrifice a lot more. But I mean, I think I'm not the only one who suffers in that sense, but some people have the better hand at being able to cut faster, especially guys that lose pounds like way easier than us girls. But yes, I think I'm not the only one that can relate to that.
I know the feeling. I've had fights before, and I was using sauna a lot, but my next fight, I've made weight for that nicely, so looking forward to that. But what would you say has been some of your best performances as a professional boxer?
Well, I did just start my pro boxing career. I started it back in March of last year, right? March of last year, I had my debut, and like I said, I did struggle to get that weight down.
Yeah.
Um, but then I had my second fight, and which was around 165, which was my weight class. So I felt pretty good. But as of right now, I think my most exciting fight was just this past December, when I I fought this girl that was already high in rankings, you know, I think she was number 8 in her
Wow.
ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like a challenge for me, and it was something that kind of was gonna open more doors as far as making people notice me. You know, my first 2 fights I struggled. I had to basically pay someone to fight against me, so that's a little it kind of makes you overthink and say, you know, is this how it's always gonna be? When in my amateur career, I had a good amateur career and I'm proud of it. I don't like bragging about it too
Yeah.
much. But, I mean, I have 7 national titles with USA. I won a world championship, a gold medal. And then I went to the Mexico team and I won 4 national championships. I was on my way to Tokyo as well. And then the whole coronavirus happened and I didn't qualify. But you kind of want your background of amateur career to try to help for when you turn pro, because at the end of the day, that's what you do the amateur fighting for, to kind of get to that level where eventually you turn pro. But I've kind of been going the hard way. I've been struggling to find someone that not only that puts their eyes on me, because right now I do have offers, but mostly that they want the same things that I do, that I want to accomplish in boxing and how I want to do it. So I think that's very important when it comes to wanting to find someone to trust and to put basically your whole career in their hands and tell them, you know what, this is what I want, how I want it, and for them to agree, because not a lot of people agree, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so right now I kind of accepted this other fight because I wanted to leave things a little bit more clear. My opponent said that she wasn't happy with the results of the last fight. I won by majority decision. But she asked for the rematch right after the fight and I wasn't gonna back off, you know?
No. Yeah.
So we'll see. Next fight, hopefully being a main event, attracts even more people and I get a little bit more offers and see where it takes me from there.
That sounds great. You know, you made a lot of interesting points. The thing about the amateur fights, I'd say you've got every right to brag. It's something you've accomplished. When you say you've had a lot of offers, but you don't know if obviously they want what's best for you and if they've got the same thing in mind. I'm not asking you to name any names. Can you give us an idea of what you mean? Are you talking about managers or promotional offers?
I mean, mostly managers. I did sign a contract one time with the manager that I met. He's based in New Jersey, I believe. We had this perfect, you know, understanding between each other, and also my dad, because my dad is my coach and him and I always make decisions together. So he always, you know, as a father, he always wants to look at what's best for me.
Yeah.
And manager offers were mostly caring more about the manager than what it was for the fighter, you know. So we didn't agree on certain things and we tried changing and we tried how do you say it, you know, coming to an agreement. But unfortunately, you know, it didn't work out. I'm still really good friends with the guy that I signed my first contract with. He let me go out of the contract and, you know, find a better offer, as you can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mainly that managers right now have a different idea compared to ours. I mean, for example, me, I want 4 to 5 fights a year. And not a lot of managers can promise that.
No.
You know, staying kind of stuck and not fighting or not doing something to move to like start getting more fights in my record. It kind of like you waste time in boxing. You know, you don't have that much time in boxing, but
No.
boxing, I'm only gonna be in my 20s for so long, and after my 30s, I don't want to keep fighting anymore. So It's just that right now I want to find someone that kind of cares for the way that I want to carry and do my career, you know?
Well, something I think I can explain very well. I've got a lot of things that I want to do in boxing, and I might talk about it later on in this video. The way I'd look at a lot of people in boxing, for me, I'd say I understand boxing very well, and I'm very honest. I don't lie to people. But the problem with a lot of people, they'll come into boxing with the intention, first of all, they don't really understand boxing. And if they're coming from a background where they got a degree in business, and you might have your background, but it doesn't mean they understand boxing very well. And the problem is, they'll say to you, I can do this, this, and this for you, but they can't. And if you look, I'll give you an example. Did you hear what Bob Arum said about women's boxing recently?
No, I think
Okay, Bob Arum said nobody pays much attention to women's boxing. It's like comparing the Premier League to Sunday football. I don't think you haven't got you call it soccer, but basically saying women's boxing, like it's basically like very, very low level, and I was shocked. I wasn't shocked because I'm around boxing people, so obviously people of Arum's age, that's the sort of attitude they have. Now, what I'm trying to say, I understand that women's boxing is limited in what opportunities you get. And even if you do get the opportunities, you're not going to be making the money that men are making. So the question I'm trying to get to, have you dealt with people like this? They'll say they can do things for you, but you're coming from a background where you might not have. I've been around boxing for over 10 years now, so I know what Eddie Hearn's like and Bob. So if I was going to tell fighters something, first, I don't know if I'd really want to manage a fighter. So I do what I'm doing now. I say we can talk, but I wouldn't really want the pressure of managing you. Do you think there's a lot of people in boxing with that mentality? They just want to manage you, get a cut of your money, but they can't actually deliver value for money. I think that's what you're talking about.
In a way, I can see that, but right now I feel like women's boxing has kind of started growing more, maybe, but the fact that, how you say, there's not that equality in what
Pay
offered, but I think it can start as easily as women having more airtime, having TV fights, being on big cards, and not a lot of people, like you said, are willing to do that, when sometimes there's women that give better fights than men do. We have a lot of them coming. One of the top ones right now is Clarissa Shields with her. I mean, I'm not such a fan of going to MMA, but I mean, she's trying to get that to how do you say it, to kind of grow in the sport, even if it's not just in boxing.
You're trying to grow her. Sorry.
Clarissa Shields is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in boxing.
Yeah.
She should have more exposure than what she does now. She had to move to a different sport to get kind of satisfaction in a way. I feel like I like the fact that right now women's boxing is getting more out there, and I do believe that there's a lot of people that are not going to, or not willing to invest, because they don't think that we're gonna bring the same investment back, but in the sport, it's basically either you make it or you don't, but you have to find that one person that's going to be willing to like play it and see how it goes,
So those are some good points. I'm a big fan of women's boxing. I think it's getting there. And you just, obviously some of them are old fashioned, the Arums, the Lou DeBello's doing a good job, but the ones that you really got to admire, I think Eddie Hearn's the main guy for, he's been doing a lot for women's boxing. You got Ben Shalom, you got Sky Sports Boxer, you got Kelly Sauerland. What do you think of Eddie Hearn, though? Is he someone you like to work with?
Well, that is a big goal of mine. You know, if I'm able to get those eyes on me, uh, one day, you know, he has the biggest platform right now, and well, there's Katie Taylor as an example. You know, right now I think she's going to accept. Was it the fight against Amanda Serrano?
It's been
Finally,
announced. Yeah, it's been announced.
yeah. So, you know, I think right now for a woman, getting attention from Eddie Hearn like that would probably be one of my goals, and I hope I could find someone or have someone see that talent in me that could eventually lead me to one day being in that platform, you know, and being able to win world titles and defend my world titles. And you know, I think it's a dream for all women fighters right now that are trying to get their career going.
I'll give you my advice for what it's worth. I don't think it's hard in the sense, well, obviously boxing's a hard sport, but I think Matchroom are very easy to people to get on with. I've been to their press conferences, I've been to their fights. Obviously, you are a world-class fighter. If you just keep putting the performances in, they'll take notice of you. I've spoken to people that have fought on Matchroom shows, and yeah, they just said once Matchroom notice you, they get in touch. So I would just say, just keep doing what you're doing, you know. But what would you say is the most difficult part about boxing? You know, obviously we've already mentioned cutting weight. What would you say? What would you say are some of the other challenges?
Well, for me, besides cutting weight, has been mostly investing. You know, I work to push my career through. I don't think anybody who turns pro would imagine that they have to pay up to or more than $2,000 for a fight. You know, I think that
Wow.
that is a major I don't know, you know, it's like me showing that I really want to advance if I'm willing to invest that much money. And then a lot of conversations that I've had with past managers have been that the investment that I've already made is basically because I kind of have to, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't see it that way, you know, because I'm trying to accomplish something. But I would say that struggle is one of my second ones besides cutting weight. And then a lot of people can relate that sacrificing family time, little things like that. I mean, I missed out on most of my high school years. I had to get out of advanced placement classes just because I couldn't keep up with the grades. Because once I would keep up my grades, then they would go down because I had to go to a tournament. Then I'd be back to bring them up, and then it just kept repeating. And then I had university. I applied for universities, 4-year universities, and also community college, and a lot of things like that I had to either. I couldn't do both at the moment. It was either put my attention on something or struggle with also leaving for school, you know. And I chose that. I chose to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this boxing thing, and I'm gonna put all my time into it and effort. And that's why it gets kind of sad sometimes and kind of brings you down that all that I'm doing has paid off in some way, but at the same time it's not so much in my pro career yet. So
I know the challenges. Obviously, I've had fights where I had to fight for free. But one of my fights, obviously, it cost me money to travel to get there, the hotel. But you got to have that vision. You got to have that belief that it's like, why do people go to university? Because you believe that all that effort is going to get you a job which pays off. So that's just my advice to you. So long as you've got a goal in mind, obviously, I can't. You know, a lot of people make fake promises. I can't make any fake promises. It's up to you whether you can fight. But it's like getting people's attention in boxing isn't hard. You know, like I've interviewed Eddie Hearn before. Next time I interview him, I'll make sure I mention you. But obviously, you just so long as you continue and you can fight, people are definitely going to take notice of you. And who would you say, you know, who would you, once you have your next fight, and assumably you win, who do you see as potential fights for you out there?
Potential
Potential fights
potential
you,
fight.
for you,
Well,
yeah. Or who would you like
I
to fight?
get offered a fight against Alejandra Jimenez before this fight.
Okay.
Fought French on Cruz, and I don't know, they had a
Saying
misunderstanding with the whole. But
they said she was a man or something like that.
she looks like a man.
Yeah, some people were saying that. Yeah, apparently they cancelled they overturned the result, something like that.
I think they took the belt back and gave it to Franchon. But
I've
there's a
seen it.
possible opponents that the fact that I already have that possibility to maybe fight them. She's a known fighter, even though title went a little bit out of her hands. I kind of denied the offer, not so much because it was her, but because I already had my other fight coming up, and I couldn't let the promoter, which is also a good friend of mine and my dad's, that gave us that opportunity to headline in his boxing show, and having a woman fight be the main event is something that you're gonna see even in the States, even in the US. You're not gonna see it too often, so I mean, eventually I do want to go up in the weight classes, 168, 160s, and maybe come down to the 154s, and to see who's in that level. I mean, eventually I do want to fight Clarissa Shields. I've always kind of wanted to. There was a point where I could have sparred her. Sadly, she had a fight coming up, but
Okay.
I do really wanting to fight her. There's Hannah Gabriels as well. I was also having a conversation about that fight with Hannah Gabriels. It didn't pull through because they found an opponent for her. But there's a lot of people on the line that I do look forward to sharing the ring with.
I remember Hannah Gabriel's the one that dropped Clarissa Shields.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember the look on Clarissa's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, if you just continue, then all these opportunities are there. I was just about to say Clarissa, but obviously you said her first. But yeah, I'm sure these opportunities will come for you. What advice are your team giving you in terms of how to build your profile? What are you doing about that? And obviously, oh yeah, with the education, do you ever see yourself going back?
Yes. Well, one of the promises that I made to my mom, because my mom, she hasn't always been fully happy with the fact that I chose to focus on boxing before school, but she says, you know what, if you're gonna do this, go for it, but you have to go to school. So I already made a promise right there. I do want to figure out what I would like to study before I actually take that step and say, you know what, I'm going to start school. I just don't want to go and be completely blank about what I want to have a career in. And
Business?
as for plans, I mean, I feel like, sorry.
No, sorry, go on, sorry, go on, yeah.
About, my dad always helped me get out there in a sense. I've always been a shy girl. I mean, I'm starting to get used to being more open, more interacting with friends and followers that have seen me grow in the sport of boxing. And I don't know, it's just keep getting out there, keep sharing. I mean, like I've said before, I'm not a person to brag, and I know I've accomplished so many things that I'm allowed to talk, but I guess it's in my personality to be that way in a sense. But yes, I have to I have to keep putting those how do you say it? Putting myself out there to find more opportunities, like the ones you say that are not too hard to find, but I guess I just make it too hard on myself sometimes.
You just take it a day at a time, and obviously with you and me, we're very different. I'm very confident and talkative. You could put me in front of an audience, but I say obviously if you're trying to do things in boxing, I say you have to be willing to sort of change certain things and improve certain traits of your personality. So when you say brag, listen, boxing is a very special sport. It's a very difficult sport. And I'll give you an example. Like sometimes you get people leaving silly comments. So yeah, I've said things to people online. I've said you're a bunch of idiots. And then people say to you, oh, Michael, would you say that to my face? Yeah, if I see you, I'll slap you. So I've said to them, here's the address to my gym, come down. And they never do. So obviously, most people can't fight and they're not willing to fight. You've boxed, you've had amateur fights, you've had a professional career. So it's not bragging, but you're entitled to talk about your achievements. If you're getting invited in the ring with people like Cecilia Breakz, I've been in the ring with women, so I know if you're talking about an average woman who obviously doesn't box, there's a huge, huge difference between a man such as myself and a woman who doesn't really box. For someone like Breakz will beat up most men. You and I both know that. Obviously, men that don't box. So for you to even get in the ring with someone of that caliber, but it's not bragging, but you're entitled, and obviously not forget the fact you've sparred her, but you're a world-class fighter. So I'd just say that's something you need to sort of be more willing to talk about. And you just got to be willing to promote yourself. Like with me, I put myself out on social media. I sparred Kell Brook. I got put down quite a few times, but when you're putting this stuff out there, people take notice of you. So outside of boxing, what do you like to do in your sort of spare time? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I've always I feel like it's a hobby that I've had as a little girl. We
Yeah.
movies a lot. It's it's probably one of my favorite things. Lately, I don't have much time to, right? But since I was little, my dad's been going to the movies since years, and he kind of not put that on me, but kind of made me enjoy it in a way. I'm a very reserved girl. I mean, I don't go out. I don't do a lot of things, but I would say going to the movies is one of my top ways of distracting, basically.
Okay. What movies have you seen lately?
Well, you know what? There's one recently that I watched. It was about it's called King Richard.
Oh, the Serena Williams.
It was mostly I was
The
expecting
dad.
a little bit more about Serena Williams, but it was actually about the
The dad.
sister
Yeah.
most, and about the dad's point of view, basically. And I couldn't help but relate to it a little bit because they did struggle at the beginning, to get out there, to get that opportunity to show their talent. And it's crazy. I was really into the movie, and I was telling my dad that I didn't even want to go, but I'm glad I did. So that's one of my most recent movies, and I feel like it's a little bit relatable in that sense. But I like watching anything, mostly drama, action, romance, very few times because my dad doesn't want me to see that. but
No,
yeah, I
that's
really
right.
enjoyed.
Just yeah, do what's best for you, really. I'll tell you a great way to get your name out there. So Katie Taylor Sarando has been announced for April. I think it's a Madison Square Garden in New York. Would you think about going to that fight, trying to attend, trying to meet some of the people there?
I
Oh yeah, but also I know you got a fight happening, so just mentioning it.
would love to. I remember when even before I turned pro, I've always liked watching fights live. You know, I went to the fight against Cecilia Breakz with Cali Reese, and that day, you know, I mean, I was a big fan of Cecilia. I looked up to her because she won so many titles and she was able to hold all of 5 belts. You know, nobody has done that before,
Yeah, for
and
so
that
long. Yeah.
really pointed that fight. I felt like it could have at least been a tie, but they gave the fight to Cecilia, and that kind of got to me, you know. But we like going. I like going to watch fights live, preferably. But you know, sometimes work and training and money is
Oh yeah.
a big factor in all that. So I mean, if I had that chance to go out there and see it live, you know, that would be. That's what I see a lot in fighters that I've known from amateur, the nationals and all that. They get out there that way, but you know, it's good for them that they have that opportunity to be there in important cards like that. But yeah, I'll try to start saving up more money to go to special fights like those, but we'll see, you know.
Oh yeah, I understand. But it's the same with me. Obviously, I found a weekend job. And then the problem, if I go to fights, it's the money it's going to cost for the fight ticket, the travel, the hotel, plus the money that I would have got if I worked. So basically, it's going to cost me hundreds of pounds just to go to a fight. So I'm not saying I can't afford it, but it's just something to think about, you know. So I know the feeling. Who are some of your favorite fighters at the moment?
Well, you know, they've asked me this question before, and I wouldn't say there's like a fighter that I say, oh my god, like this is my idol. Because believe it or not, being a boxer, I've never been a boxing fanatic. I
Oh,
I remember my dad would make me sit through some fights, and I would end up sometimes falling asleep because I just didn't enjoy it as much. That's why I tell you that I would prefer watching them live. But you know, one of my top, I believe, fighters that I would like say would be Sal Sanchez. You know, he never looked tired when he would fight. 15 rounds, and every round looked like he was barely starting the first. So I feel like that's why from him as a fighter, I got the idea that conditioning is so important, because you have to have condition to be able to, you know, go through so many rounds. I mean, it is 2 minutes for girls, which is, I feel like it should start changing. But you know, I kind of got that from watching how he used to fight. He looked brand new in every round. So, and obviously a lot of Mexican fighters that are, I won't say Canelo because
yeah. Oh no.
but I mean, he has his style that's worked for him. I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez, being aggressive fighters, and I think that's why I want to connect to that part of having Mexican blood in me, and bringing that Mexican fighter, as you would say, out in me. But as far as girls, well, Cecilia Breakz was one of them until that one fight that I wasn't happy with. But yeah, I won't. Tyson too. They always compared me to Tyson. I remember that I would have to fight girls taller than me because of my weight class, and they'd call me, "Hey, little Tyson," like because it didn't matter how tall they were, and I would still beat them. But one time they told me that, do they compare you to Tyson because you bite people's ears? And I was like, no, like I would never do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big boxing fanatic.
No, you're entitled to your point of view. Something I want to ask you about. sort of the politics of boxing. We sent each other a few messages about this. So when I was sort of when you talk about people in boxing, you said you don't like one of your opponents. You didn't really like her. For me, I've got a very logical point of view. I don't really care about anybody in boxing or anybody in the planet. I'll talk to anybody. I'll be nice to anybody. But I can only engage you if you bring some sort of common sense. Like, say someone had a problem with me. If you come up to me and say, I've got a problem with you because, we can talk about it. But if you're someone who you're my opponent or whoever, you don't like me, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. What is your attitude towards that sort of thing? So if you've got any opponents or their teams that are awkward towards you, what are your feelings towards them?
Well, I've always tried to be friendly with my opponents. Like, I think I could relate to you in that sense where um it's just a fight in the ring. There shouldn't be a fight out
Yeah,
of it if it's both doing what we like, you know. We came to fight no matter the results from that. But recently this opponent that I have, I didn't know why she didn't like me. I mean, we had a fought in 2016, but it was a tie, so I never really gave her a reason to have that anger, I guess, towards me. Then I ended up finding out that, sorry, did it cut
oh
off?
yeah, it's fine. It's all right.
I thought it had cut off.
Yeah, you
Uh,
say you fought the opponent before.
yeah, but I didn't give her a reason to. I mean, I like being friendly after every fight, even if I have, because I've lost before. You know, there was a point where I was on the other side of that winning experience, and even then, it's not like I gained some anger towards my opponents or anything like
Yeah,
that. But this girl is another story. I mean, I've said it in my first fight against her, which is in December. I said I've never felt the need to, or felt that like anger to want to knock somebody out so much. But she liked talking a lot, and I never gave her reasons to. So that kind of got me upset. Um, because, like you said, like there's no common sense to why you dislike me. But anyway, no, I'm not I don't even look like a fighter sometimes, you know.
yeah, you don't.
Nobody
You definitely don't. Yeah,
fights, so it's kind of funny. But no, I'm very friendly. I could hardly stay serious in a face off. So that can tell you a lot for me. I'm always so so yeah, I've tried to like respecting and that's all.
you said this opponent. You said she upset you. Well, my
Yes.
advice, for what it's worth, I think that's a character weakness you should change, because out of all my opponents, one of them, we really liked each other. The other ones I got on with okay. One of them I beat him, and after the fight, he didn't want to talk to me, so I didn't really care. There's only one opponent I didn't like. He was definitely a rude person. But for me, as I said, there's billions of people on the planet. I don't really care, to be honest. It's not that big. It's not that serious. So even with this situation, I'm the one that reached out to you. You know, if you want to let me interview you, that's cool. If you don't, it's not that big a deal. And also, it's the same the other way around. If you said to me, "Yeah, I'm available," and I choose not to reply, then you just get on with your life. It's not. It doesn't matter. So when you say that it upset you, to me, I don't care whether my opponent likes me or not. I don't. It's like if you go to a restaurant. What job is it you do again?
I work as a waitress.
Waitress. It's like when you're working as a waitress, you're having to, you're dealing with all kinds of different people. I'm sure some customers are polite, some might be a little rude, but it's like if you was to ask me, like if I was dealing with a rude customer, I'll just be like, you know what, sir, I don't care about you so long as I get paid next week. So what I'm saying, when you say you're upset by your opponent, do you think that's something you should change in your mindset? Because personally, I just don't care about my opponents. You want to be nice, you can be nice. If not, so long as I get the win, you know.
Yeah, well, I think well, you're right in that sense. I mean, I'm not one to hold grudges either,
Yeah.
but I just don't like when people have a lot to say and no reason to say it. I think that's my main issue right now.
Oh,
Um, but that's about it. I mean, in the past, I've never had that. Besides when I used to spar with my sister when I was little, she's the only one that's ever beaten me up in the ring bad. Cry, made me bleed, made me angry. I guess with her, I would say I hold a little grudge because I want my rematch from back then. But no, I mean, I've been in the sports competing since I was 13, 14, and I've always got along with my opponents. You know, if it was the other way around, I mean, it's respectful to say that if you're not okay with me being friendly, or if you don't want to have that friendly conversation, well, that's a point that I can respect. But no, it's just with her in specific is that she has no reason to say what she says, but she says them anyways. And and if she were to say it to my face, well, that would be a different story. It could be a little different, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we're gonna solve that in the ring in March.
oh yeah, just solve it in the ring. But all I say, just for some people, they come with a different mentality. They come with. If you look at George Foreman, have you looked at what he was like as a young man as compared to a old man? Did you follow his career?
Not really.
Basically, when he fought, have you ever seen his fight with Muhammad Ali?
Oh,
Rumble in
and
the Jungle. You ever seen it?
no, I might have. I just don't, like I said, I've never been a big fan.
No, that's right. There's nothing wrong with that. But he fought Muhammad Ali in 1974. He lost the fight by knockout. In those days, George Foreman was the heavyweight champion, and he used to walk around. He's a big guy, very intimidating. He used to scare the media. Come on, you're talking about a big guy that he's over 6'2" or whatever he was. People used to be scared of him. But then when he came back that's when he was in his 20s. When he came back in the 80s, at the age of in his 40s, he was a much nicer person. So what I'm saying, people sometimes they might come with that mentality where, oh, I've got to be mean to Ortiz. I'm gonna fight. Yeah, but it's just silly. And I personally, I don't care what you do. When you get in that ring with me, as you said, with Salvador Sanchez, but when it gets to round 7, 8, 9, 10, are you going to be able to keep up with me? That's all I'm thinking about. As long as I can beat you up, as long as I can knock you out, then I don't care. If I lose, I'll be professional about it, but I'll probably go home and cry myself to sleep. But I wouldn't really care. And anyway, to finish off, I don't want to take up too much of your time on this occasion. Have you ever traveled around before? I mean, I've been to America, I've been to Big Bear, I've been to Africa, and also I know you're bilingual. You speak Spanish as well. I mean, where have you been in the world? What countries have you been to?
Obviously, I haven't had that big exposure as much, but I mean, I went to that one world championship in India. I've ever since before I was 1 year old, I was a little baby. I've gone to Mexico City, which is where I have some family. It's kind of been like a tradition to visit Mexico every year, and there was a point where I started enjoying doing it even on my own. I would sometimes uh, leave and be over there for a good while. I mean, I it's a different feeling when you're over there. It's kind of hard to explain. I've always said it or explained it to my friends as you feel a little free. I don't know why I had that feeling,
Yeah,
but I've always uh I've always enjoyed it, and I've always connected with those roots. There's some people now, this generations that Mexican parents have their kids and they can't even say a word in Spanish. And so little things like that that you look at and you get proud to say, you know what, like I have that, I say, that background of knowing my roots and following traditions and all that. But as far as countries, I would say India,
Yeah.
the USA, Mexico most of the time, and I went on vacation once to Hawaii.
Okay.
I didn't do any boxing out there. I tried to stay uh, away from it a little bit, but that's about it. Canada, I went to fight in Canada once. It was a all women's tournament. That's another place that I would say, but I think I do need to start traveling a little more.
No, it sounds good. No, it sounds like obviously you've been to a few countries, and obviously as you become more successful, these opportunities will come up. And last thing I'll say, my advice, a lot of these fighters that have been to these tournaments and got to a higher level than you as an amateur, so long as you beat them in the professionals, it doesn't matter. And then obviously you can have the credit of beating these sort of people. Obviously, you've got Clarissa Shields, two-time Olympic gold medalist. Savannah Marshall's been to, you've got a lot of them. And that's my mentality. I don't care what you've done before, so long as, so long as I do what I need to do, I'm coming with a mentality I want to beat you. And if I beat you, I'll get all the credit. You know, that's the mentality I think you should have. But yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to your next fight. And hopefully we'll talk soon. Hopefully you don't become too famous for me.
Oh no, of course not. That's a lot of known saying
I'm just joking.
in Mexico too. No, but yeah, I'm happy that I finally was able to get this interview and have a talk with you. I really enjoyed our chat, and your questions got me thinking a little. But yes, hopefully we talk soon. Maybe after my fight, see how it went, see if I did get the win. But I appreciate it. It's a little late over there, so sorry for keeping you up too late.
Oh no, it was definitely worth it. I appreciate the time, and yeah, I look forward to it. Muchas gracias.
Ay, de nada. Gracias a ti.
Encantado de conocerte.
Ooh,
I don't know, my pronunciation not the best. Encantado de conocerte, something like that.
you got it right. You kind of
Oh,
got me. That's why. No, that was really good. Well, likewise. Thank you so much.
that's right. Hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto.
Cuídate.
Bye. Igualmente. You see, you know more than I would imagine.
De nada.
All right. Bye.